If you're going to move forward in your life, you have to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others. It's very difficult to notice aspects of ourselves that cause problems and keep us from reaching our full potential if we can't see ourselves clearly. This is why we're here. This is Twaambo, and you're listening to Tea Time with Twaambo. Let's begin. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Tea Time with Twaambo. Thank you, as usual, for joining me. I hope you have your little cup of tea next to you. I'm not going to make this week's episode as long as I usually do because I don't have so much to say in this episode. I've been getting some emails, some comments, some DMs about, the last episodes, especially about relationships, about cleaning house. That's what we're doing this season. And a lot of you are self-reflecting really well, which I like. This is why I do this podcast. And I would like us to continue on this journey. One thing I have noticed, though, is with the responses that I'm getting, the emails that I'm getting, a lot of you are in a lot of self-judgment. You're judging yourselves for the situations that you're in. And this is what has prompted this episode of the podcast. I am going to talk about during the self-cleaning process, during the house cleaning process, you are going to have to be compassionate with yourself. From all the messages and the emails, what I'm hearing is self-judgment. I've done this. I don't think that I can have a happy relationship. I feel like I'm stupid because I'm such and such years old and I still haven't figured it out. I don't know if I'll ever be happy. My family is hard to talk to and I think that that is my fault. So I would like us to just pump the brakes and take a little bit of time and just sit with ourselves and listen. Why are we talking about ourselves the way we are? So when you have self-compassion, it really isn't different than having compassion for others. So imagine you have a friend that comes to talk to you about problems that they have. Think about how you respond. You sit with them, you listen to what they have to say. Sometimes during the conversation, you're responding with oh, really? Oh, that doesn't sound good. I'm sorry you felt that way. And then, through the process, when that person has finished saying what they want to say, you usually jump in with would you like me to help you? Or how can we solve this situation? What would you like? And then you go into the problem solving part of the conversation. And this is something you can do with yourself. Imagine that you are talking to yourself and, you have to listen to yourself. So start with listening to your feelings. I feel isolated because I don't have friends. I feel isolated because nobody calls me. I feel isolated because I am now 37 years old and I still do not have my own home, or I do not have a wife. I do not have a husband and children, and this is really important to me. I feel like a failure. I feel like I failed because I'm not where my parents were at my age. I feel like I failed because I'm not making as much money as my peers are. And I feel down because I thought that I would be happy at this stage in my life. And then sit with those feelings because you're listening to yourself and you're acting with compassion toward yourself. And instead of berating yourself for what you're feeling, you can then ask, well, why are you feeling this way? The way you would ask a friend that you were having a conversation with. And then you could answer yourself, I feel this way because, when I was 16, I wrote out this plan for my life. And in that plan at 35, I was already happily married and I would have had my 3 kids, And then you start breaking down oh, okay, actually, I had all of these dreams for my life when I was 16 and I haven't achieved any of them. So I feel like I'm a failure. And then what would you say to somebody that would say that to you? You would probably say, yeah, but you were 16. You weren't really sure what you wanted then. You can say that to yourself, You were 16. You weren't really sure what you wanted for yourself. And everything that you knew was probably from a TV show, maybe Friends or something like that, right? And you continue having this conversation with yourself, being compassionate with yourself, and you will be excited and surprised to find that you will find acceptance of yourself in that conversation you will be at peace and you will have the fortitude to move on, right? When you have this compassionate conversation with yourself, you feel a warmth for yourself, you feel a caring, and you feel like, yes, I understand why I'm suffering, and it's okay. It's okay to feel like this. And now what am I going to do to feel better? Self-compassion is basically acting the same way towards yourself when you have a difficult time, or when you fail, or when you notice something you don't like about yourself. So instead of just ignoring your pain with like, let's just move forward, that's just life, you stop and you tell yourself, this is really difficult right now. How can I comfort and care for myself at this moment? I know some people self-care by like taking 10,000, bubble baths with the most delicious bath bombs, or, stuffing their face. How about a self-compassionate conversation with yourself? No judging yourself for inadequacies or shortcomings. Just be kind and understanding with your own personal failings and see where that takes you. And another thing that I would encourage you as you go on this self-compassionate journey, is to understand that everybody is suffering from something internally. Some people have it more figured out than others because they have gotten to this self-compassionate place earlier than you have, but it doesn't mean that they have not suffered in any way. So you have to recognize that suffering and personal inadequacy is a part of the shared human experience. Okay, there is no human being that has not been, has not failed or has not reached where they wanted to be and they're disappointed with themselves. Everybody has been there, and that's not to make you feel like just get over it. I'm saying this to encourage you to find somebody that has been through what you've been through and have the conversation with them. After you've had, a self-compassionate conversation with yourself, just ask around like, hey, actually, I've been feeling this way. Have you ever felt this way? And this will mean you being brave, because there are some of us who don't like opening up to people because it's not safe, right? And this also comes from the self-judgment. If I say this, people will think that I'm stupid, and actually I am stupid, so I can't have this conversation. So realize that human suffering is universal. We've all had a shared part in this human experience, and that there's people out there that you can talk to about it. So you also need to have a balanced approach to how you're going to approach these negative emotions, so that you're not suppressing them and you're also not exaggerating them, right? There's people that take self-compassion to the exact extreme of like self-pity, depression, I'm no good, I'm just stupid. And you have to really, really strike a balance, which is why when having the conversation with yourself, remember to always keep it as though you were having a conversation with someone else. For you, how would you want to be approached, and how would you approach the other person, right? How would you approach a person that was confessing to you how badly they feel? How would you react? And then also, if you were that other person that's telling the story, how far are you going to go? Are you going to throw yourself on the floor, roll around and cry? And with some people, you can do that. But you have to be careful of not exaggerating where you are. Because when you do that, you might be doing it just for reaction from other people. You're addicted to people reacting to you and patting you on the back. You have to be mindful of where you are, So, I know I said that I wasn't going to take so long, but I'm bordering on a normal podcast length. So that was what I wanted to encourage you this week. Self-compassion. As you go through this next week, when you find yourself beating yourself up, I'm pushing myself to go and do this because I've always been, a loner and I need to go do things. Sit with yourself and say, I'm sorry that you're feeling lonely. Tell me more about why you're feeling lonely. And react to yourself the way you would react if somebody else came and had this conversation with you. Thank you so much for listening, lovely people. I appreciate it. Looking forward to speaking to you the next week. Don't forget to check out my website. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram. Just check for the name Twaambo, TWAAMBO_K. I'm on there. And the website is www.teatimewithtwaambo.com. I appreciate you listening. Please don't forget to share this podcast on your social media pages. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, send it to your family via WhatsApp. Let's make the world a better place. Thank you.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.